thank you so much for joining us today for the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, it's similar to a normal potluck where you might get something that you want and there may be something that you just want to pass up altogether. And that's okay. There's something here for everybody. Our goal here is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Dude, it actually got up to like 50 degrees outside today.
Is that the start of the podcast? It did.
Sure. Did you draw on your wedding
I did.
ring?
I drew my wedding ring on. I'll do that every once in a while. No,
Yeah.
I was shocked. It was colder, I think, in my house this morning.
Yeah.
And when I walked out, I was expecting to be freezing. I was like, oh, it's very decent out here. It was
Yeah.
definitely colder in my car.
Yeah, I didn't have to like warm up my car. I walked outside and I go, oh, this is great. This is good.
Well, I
Wasn't, like,
definitely
negative.
warmed mine up.
Oh, I definitely had to warm
I
my
warmed
car
my
up.
car
I was,
up,
I'm,
for sure.
I am perpetually cold during winter. I don't
Really?
Even 50s in April, I can deal with. 50s in January, I am frozen solid. I don't know what the deal is.
It's just the mindset.
Yeah.
I think it's almost kind of like that placebo effect that some
Yeah.
people get. You know, they'll like take this pill and your headache will go away. And it could just be something for indigestion or whatever. And people go, that really did help with my headache.
Like if it's 50 in April, I'll go play baseball. I don't care.
Yeah.
If it's 50 in January, I'm not leaving my house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you made it in today for the potluck.
Only because I had to. The cold weather has really affected me this year. I hate it so much.
Yeah, I mean, dude, well, the negative temperatures that we had was insane because that was just last week,
Yeah.
which is absurd to think about. Like last week, it was negative
This office
5.
is cold.
This office feels great.
Freezing
Does the
right
cold
now.
hurt your joints?
The cold hurts
You got that age?
everything.
That sounded like the start of like some medical commercial. Is the cold?
Are you
hurt
old
your
and out of
joints?
shape? Does the cold make you sad? If so, that's what I need. The cold is really bothering me.
Yeah. Well, today we're going to be continuing our discussion on fasting. And first and foremost, before we even get to anything else, you've got to take a moment because we had some people talk and comment about this. And I hate it whenever churches, use Daniel and his fast about, he never fasted in the Bible. And we're like, okay, dude.
I hope we clip this for all my TikTok fans.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it was on YouTube, but
Wherever it was. I wasn't.
It was
first
TikTok.
off, if you're going to listen to a TikTok and then comment negatively, listen to the whole video.
Yeah.
I was actually advocating against the Daniel fast and not saying that the Daniel fast was in fact a fast. I was just calling it the Daniel fast because that is the normal nomenclature for what took place.
Yeah.
Even though if you listen to the whole episode, I did not actually
Endorse it.
I actually said I have an issue with it because of the way that there's not actual space made because there's no skipping of a meal.
Yeah.
And it directs too much attention on what you can and can't eat and not enough attention to the Lord.
Yeah.
So I got like drilled on TikTok or YouTube Shorts or whatever as some Daniel fast proponent. I'm
Yeah,
like,
apologist.
No, if you do the Daniel fast, it works for you. Great. I'm not a fan of it, but I'm not here to tell you one way or another. Daniel did it, but Daniel did again, like the TikTok experts pointed out. Daniel did that as a way to abstain from the food that was dedicated to idols.
Yeah.
As a way to resist against, the king at that time to say, no, I'm sorry, we're not going to turn our back on our God on what we think. We're going to stand strong in that. So I don't. He did fast later on.
Yeah.
And yes, he did for different purposes. But again, if you're a Daniel fast person, I don't think there's anything wrong. Like the TikTok, theologians said that you're not allowed to do that. I think the Lord is okay if you want to do that. It's just not me personally. It's not my thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the explanation. And that way you have a chance to rebuttal any kind of comments or just like, just have a decent conversation as much as or as best as we can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, can
over
we
the
just
internet.
get to the place in the world where when you hear someone talk for 30 seconds, but it's 30 seconds out of an hour-long podcast that we go,
Yeah.
well, maybe I'll reserve judgment since I didn't listen to the whole hour
Yeah.
Yeah.
on it. I mean, can we just do that? Like, could we start that as a worldwide movement that we're not going to take 30 seconds of someone's life and decide what they're about?
I mean, we have a segment in our podcast called The Mystery Meat, so I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
we're not like jumping to a whole lot of conclusions.
Yeah, like
Ourselves.
If you listen to the mystery meat, I mean, we're forced into some things that I don't care if a hot dog's a sandwich or cereal's a soup. I just don't care. But if you just clip that, it'll look like I'm the champion of cereal being soup out on TikTok.
I am a cereal as soup apologist.
Social media has made the world so much stupider because everybody gets to share their opinion.
Yeah,
Most
I know.
people's opinions
You get
are
bold.
always left better unsaid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people get bold because there's none of
Yeah,
this.
Dave,
face-to-face.
I ain't never gonna probably see you, but thank you for commenting on the Daniel Fast, Dave.
I don't
know if that was his name or not.
That'd be funny if it was.
Yeah,
He's like,
it's
dude, he looked me up.
He looked me up. He's got my IP address. Would that be? I guarantee you, if you thought that the person that you were gonna try to run under the bus could get your IP address, I bet you'd be a lot nicer on the internet.
Oh. Well, we're not that type of people.
No, it is. We have that culture though, where people will say stuff online that they would never say to your face.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Ever.
know.
It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What in the world do we do that for?
Dude, I don't know. It's absurd.
Sure.
The good thing for me is like I get the Holy Spirit that just tells me no a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Because I'll get through like my thumbs are sore because I've just
Yeah.
got the perfect rebuttal, and then before I hit send,
Delete.
I'm just
I
all
have
right,
to do
Lord.
that.
Yeah.
The Lord has to do. I'm not any different than anybody else. I scroll through social media and I see stuff left and right that I think is stupid,
Yeah,
or is just flat out wrong that I'd love to comment on.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah.
You have your prerogative. You're allowed to be wrong.
yeah,
Yeah, that's fine. You can be wrong.
yeah.
I wouldn't suggest it, but you can be.
When we all get to heaven, right?
Yeah.
No, we're talking about fasting.
Don't get me started. Don't get me. I've already got it. Actually, that's funny you mentioned that. I was writing my sermon this
Now that you
morning,
mention it.
and there was a point in my sermon. First off, the first draft of my sermon was 6 pages long,
Yeah,
which everyone knows. I'm long at 4 pages.
yeah,
Yeah.
6 pages. I'm like, we're going into Monday on this thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
And so I'm cutting it down, and there was just a part in it where I had thrown in a whole little rant about heaven and my whole little spiel about that. And I was like, okay, that's not part of what I'm actually teaching this week. I'll take it out.
yeah.
I'll save that soapbox for another day. So
So I wanted to you have an incredible testimony in terms of fasting and the response that you got from God.
yeah.
You had been on staff for quite a number of years here, and felt this calling from God to kind of step
Be a
up,
lead pastor.
step up in the church world.
Yeah.
Because we do see a lot of times where youth pastors do eventually get called into being youth or lead pastors, because it's almost, I mean, it really is just like a small church. You prepare a sermon every single week. You've got people that you've got to follow up with. You've got, you get a really good idea about budgets and stuff. And so it is highly common to see a youth pastor eventually over time become a lead pastor somewhere. But I wanted to talk about this a little bit in getting this desire to hear from God about what you should do, but set us up for this conversation that we're going to have, because it's your story. I can't tell it for you.
Yeah. So it did all start with we were headed to a conference over at Quest Church in Lexington, Kentucky, and my pastor Mark, came and picked me up. I remember as soon as I sat down in his car that morning, I felt the Lord tell me that I'm calling you to be a lead pastor. I hadn't even got to the conference yet.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Like, it's like 7 in the morning. It's a little early, Lord, for stuff like that. And so I'm just sitting there real quiet. And then as I go throughout the whole day is just like one big confirmation of what the Lord said that morning. So I wrestled with it for a couple months. And I went and told, I was like, I got to go tell our elders and our and my pastor, because I never wanted to be the type of person that was just like, see ya, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want, like, this church has been too good to me up to that point, and I didn't want to do that. So I went and told them up front. I was like, listen, this is what the Lord told me at this conference, and so I have to start looking for opportunities for that. That's part of the story. The other part of it is whenever Mark Sundstrom was here, and he was the first guy that really, really, I don't know, just really poured into me in a lot of ways in ministry. He was a big proponent of fasting, and we would start every year with a fast. And sorry, Dave, it was the Daniel fast, which is why I'm not a fan of it to this day. But he did instill a discipline of fasting in me really early on in my faith journey. And so all of this stuff started coming together, and even though I ended up in the final 2 for a church over in Ohio, and I shouldn't have been, because I should have listened to my wife, who told me multiple times that we weren't supposed to go anywhere, and I was just like, I don't know, the Lord told me I was supposed to be a lead pastor, and I still ended up in the final 2, and they ended up going with someone else, and I was like crushed by it. When I came back, I said, hey, I told the church, I've been in this process with this church. I told you all I'd been called to this. But it was like, I'd say that was probably March that year. And I was like, I'll hang out until fall, and then I'll probably start sending out resumes again and things like that. The church was really great about it too. They included me in the elder meetings from that point forward to start training me up for how to be a lead pastor, to start looking at the finances of the church, the policies of the church, the way decisions are made. So they were very gracious to me in that way of giving me that like behind the scenes view of how things were being ran for many, many, many months, long before I should have ever been in those meetings.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was because, there is a way that you can tell the people that are responsible for the church that, hey, here's what God's called me to do. He's called me to go do this. And like most people, when they are going to go do something new in ministry, they shock everybody.
Yeah.
Like nobody knows it's coming. And for me, I'm like, it seems like a complete betrayal of the trust that a church has placed in you if you just up and resign to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And like,
For sure.
so they don't even know that was on the horizon. Because listen, church transitions and stuff like that are super secretive. So like when a pastor is looking at going to another church, like they have to be super secretive about, don't tell anyone that you're traveling. Don't tell them where you're traveling, because it's like there shouldn't be that level of secrecy in the church. Like if God's going to do it, then we should be okay with God moving his people around however he sees fit.
Yeah, for sure.
So I just was like, I don't know any other way other than to be like really open and honest.
Yeah.
So I just told him, I was like, this is what's going on. I applied at a church. I made it down to the final 2. I'm going for an interview. And that's what it was. And so they were super gracious to me. And then Mark had really instilled the discipline of fasting in me. And I told them I would revisit the issue in February or in the fall that year. And I was like, well, I'm sure that I'll just I just automatically assumed that that's what God wanted me to do. So you called me to be a lead pastor. I can't be the lead pastor here because we have a really good pastor named Mark. So clearly I've got to go look for something else.
Yeah.
And then I just started feeling really impressed. Like, well, maybe you should actually pray. Like sometimes we want to skip that. And we go, well, you kind of already know what the end goal is. So you just skip the whole process and try to get to the end.
Yeah.
And I felt, again, because Mark had so instilled fasting as a discipline in me in my discipleship process, I was like, and I had done this multiple days where I would go 40 days and I would fast between 10 and 5 or like 9 and 3, something like that. And I'd done that multiple times in the past, actually. And so when it came to that decision, I was like, I think I'm going to do 40 days of prayer and fasting before I decide if I'm supposed to go interview at churches or whatnot. Just the way I don't want it to be a me thing. Like, I want it to be totally a God thing. And so I did that. Megan, I don't even know if I told Megan. Maybe I'm sure I did, because it's very difficult to do life with someone that's fasting if you're also not fasting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was like every day at lunchtime, it's like, nah. It's the weekends. That's
You're
the
not
worst.
hungry.
The week right now. So this is the funny thing about the fast right now. This is probably killing Aaliyah and Jake too, because they love to eat after church. And normally we're like making plans to go eat after church. It's killing my kids right now, because every Sunday I'm like, no, we're just gonna go home. I can't eat anyways. I'm not gonna go sit at a Mexican restaurant and watch y'all pound chips and salsa.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna do it.
Yeah.
So, like every Sunday, I'm like, nah, let's just go home. So Megan probably knew, but she wasn't participating in it. She was kind of just leaving it up to me to pray and fast about it. And so that's what I did for 40 straight days. Listen, 7 of those days, I was in New York on a mission trip.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it was miserable.
Yeah.
One of the mission organizations that we went to, they would take us. They would take us to different places for lunch every single day. It's like you're in New York City, the greatest food city maybe in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's got so much cool stuff that we don't have here in West Virginia.
Yeah.
You're only here for 7 days, but I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stick to this thing, because I have to hear from the Lord. Like, I have to. So like all I would do during 10 to 5 window or 9 to 4 window was water and black coffee. So I remember we went to this Dominican restaurant in Harlem, and it was a baseball themed restaurant
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
of all the Dominican baseball players, and it was like their signature dishes or something. Oh, it was like killing me, because I was like, I really want to eat right now.
You're like, dude, give me the Sosa.
So,
I want the Sammy
I
Sosa.
know, right? So I ended up, I was like, do you have black coffee? And it's like, it's a Dominican restaurant. It's like, yeah.
It has like
we've got
motor
black.
oil stuff too.
So they bring this coffee out to me. I've empty stomach essentially, and the first sip of it, I swear my eyes got an inch bigger, each one of them. I was like, oh my Lord. But I couldn't eat anything. Everyone's getting all these like delicious smelling and tasting foods around me, so I'm just like hammering
Coffee.
this Dominican
Yeah.
coffee. So even on that mission trip, I was like, no, I'm sticking to it. Like it's because I wanted to hear. And I remember when I got to day 40, I was at my mom and dad's house. I always have a tendency to give too many details. I'm not going to give the full details. I was at my mom and dad's house, and I'm praying. I'm praying, and I remember saying, all right, God, it's day 40, and I don't feel like you've given me any direction whatsoever. Like, I don't feel like you've told me at all.
Yeah.
And I said it almost like as like a threat to the Lord, like, if you don't say something today, I'm just going to keep fasting until you say something.
Yeah.
It was like as if the Lord would care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to continue to fast and seek me and, pray.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm so
please,
mad at you.
Yeah, please don't do that, Scott. It's not like your stupid self couldn't probably use it anyways. So I'm like, I'll just keep doing it. So I told Megan, I said, I haven't heard anything. I'm just going to keep fasting. The very next day, day 41, I was praying. And people always ask, how do you hear from the Lord? I'm like, I don't know. Did I hear an audible whisper of the word stay? Did stay just like resonate in my head over and over and over? I don't know. But all I know is I walked away from that prayer going, I heard from the Lord. And the word was stay. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that I didn't even really think that was on the table, to be honest, because I'm thinking if you call someone to be a lead pastor and the church they're at has a pastor, you have to tell them where to apply,
Yeah.
not stay.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any sense. But I was like, okay. I mean, the reason why I went through the prayer and the fasting was to hear from the Lord. And listen, if you're going to go through all of that, then whatever the answer is, you end up needing to be okay with it.
Yeah.
even if it doesn't make any sense, because this made no sense.
Yeah.
Because I was like, Southridge has a pastor. And that would have been in August. I think August 2015. And in September 2015, I was sitting in front of the elders of Southridge Church for them to talk to me and Michael Coker about becoming the lead pastors of the church.
Yeah.
It was about 6 weeks after I finished the 41st day of that fast, about 6 weeks, that Pastor Mark had resigned. He was headed to Indiana, and the church where they had just gone through transition, everything had this idea that they wanted me and Michael to lead the church for a season. And I would have missed that opportunity possibly,
Yeah.
or at the very least probably greatly complicated that situation
Yeah.
if I had not gone through a season where it was like, I need to hear from God. Because it's very easy for us to do what we want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we've got to, we have to get more comfortable with just saying yes to the Lord and seeking what He wants more than anything,
Mm-hmm.
even if that hurts, even if it doesn't make sense, even if other people might shake their head or disagree with it or whatever it is. That has to become the most important thing. And now looking back, I go like, I can't imagine what would have happened if I'd have just taken matters into my own hands.
I was going to ask you this because I think it's just so important because it's a real life kind of like example of what can happen whenever you say yes. So how did hearing from God at the end of 41 days of fasting shape your faith journey to where you are right now? Because we talk about these things and next steps and what does that look like to take those next steps and being obedient and maybe in your case stubborn of saying I'm super determined to hear from God.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to hear from God, and I want that confirmation of what He has asked me to do. And so, like, it was just like, okay, I'm gonna continue to do this. That's a next step, hearing from God, and then actually staying put because you've got you've got somebody else in the position that God has just asked you to stay for.
Yeah.
It was the same situation when I was called into youth ministry. The church had a youth pastor. I'm like, I'm picking people off around here, so you better watch out if I want your position. Apparently,
I'm glad you can't sing.
Lord's gonna move you on. But no, it was the same thing. And so I went through a process of a year of you'd find me at the altar every single Sunday at Southridge Church for a year before I was on staff here.
Yeah.
Just praying like, okay, God, you call me into ministry. I assume it's youth ministry. There's a youth pastor here. They don't really need any pastors here. So how in the world does anyone even find out that I'm like up for grabs?
Yeah.
Not like, so it was like the same thing there. And so it was just what all of this has done. It was funny too, because after that fast, I probably only did one really long, significant, like 40-day fast since that until this year. Even though it was like a really early on discipline, like I kind of got out of the rhythm of it. But this fast that we're doing right now is really, really clicking in for me in a way that like it will definitely end up being a more regular thing for me to continue to fast more often than what I have over maybe the last 5 or 6 years.
So it's actually like really opened your eyes to spiritual disciplines and how can you implement them, which is amazing because that's what your faith journey looks like.
Yeah.
Like whenever you are even stubborn, I hate to say that but I know that in that instance you were just like, all right, I didn't hear from you. I'm going to keep on going, God.
Yeah.
It's almost like a spiritual stubbornness. And I think that maybe in that moment, God was just saying, I wonder how desperate He is.
Yeah.
Because so many times we put a time frame on something and we say, okay, it's done.
That's it.
That's it. I'm good.
Yeah.
I did it. I've read my book a month, for the whole year. So I've read 12 books, and which is great. You've done it, but could you have done more?
Yeah.
And I think that that's what God sometimes puts us in these situations where you're like, how bad does He want to hear from me?
Yeah.
And I think through just that simple spiritual stubbornness, so to speak, in hearing from God. I mean, it has shaped obviously your physical life because you're here still. Yeah. Y'all got a really awesome home and you've got roots into the community. So it's been amazing to see that. But also spiritually, it's opened your eyes to, I know that if I need to hear from God on a specific instance, like I'm going to lock in and I'm going to do whatever it takes to do it. And that has shaped your faith journey for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
It does. The more, that's why when people ask, how do you hear from the Lord? I go, well, it's a long practice of trying to figure out whose voice is whose.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good.
You have to go through it more than just once.
Yeah.
And so it is. It's that long journey of and what I have discovered is every time that I've tried to take things into my own hands, it goes horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Like I tried to go and get that church in Ohio, and I ended up getting really, really hurt in that process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, and I don't say this with, I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody. I knew the other candidate, so whenever they announced the hire, I knew who got the job over me, and I know that people, especially pastors, should be super spiritual and be like, well, that's who God wanted. But on some level, we're all still human, and it goes, stack us up next to each other and see, and it was very painful to go, no, they chose him over you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, if you know who the person is, you're like, holy crap, maybe I'm not everything that I thought that I was. And actually, if I just listened
It's
from
probably a little humbling experience, too.
Incredibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, the whole process of ministry and just faith in general is one of the most humbling things that you'll go through. Because when I was in my late 20s and 30s, before I was a lead pastor, I would have told you I could do this job in my sleep.
Yeah.
And that no lead pastor, I loved Mark Sundstrom. Until this day, I do. And I would have told you, as his associate, can I do what he's doing? Psh, in my sleep.
Yeah.
Here I am, like 38 years old now, and I'm going, this is the hardest thing I've ever.
Feel like a 50-year-old man.
Yeah, and it's like, and the fact that I thought when I was 28 I could have done this.
Yeah.
What an arrogant idiot.
Yeah.
I must have been. Because I was meeting with someone yesterday, and they came to my office. They sat down. They said, just out of nowhere, and she goes, "You're awfully young to have a congregation this big and this much responsibility." And I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
Like 38 is nothing.
Yeah.
And the arrogance was, I thought I could do it when I was 28.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'd only been saved for like four years.
Yeah.
Been in ministry 3, and I'm like, I could lead a church of 400.
Yeah.
It's like, no, the whole thing has been very humbling. And that's why, like, prayer and fasting and hearing from the Lord has been so key. Because, like, if not, you can get yourself into situations that you were never meant to be in. I think sometimes we put ourselves by our own volitional will in situations that we get hurt, and then we wonder, why in the world did that happen?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's because you didn't actually have a word from the Lord to go and act on that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not saying every single time that you make a decision in life, it's a word from the Lord, because I have always been a firm believer that God at times does go, you choose. Here's my word. Here's my will. Here's my ways. Don't violate these things.
Yeah.
But sure, is there certain times that the Lord goes, my will is for you to stay within these parameters, but you can choose the specifics? I absolutely think that. And then there's other times that I think he very specifically says, this is what's for you, nothing else. This is it.
Yeah.
So I've always been a firm believer of that. And so hearing from the Lord is paramount, because I don't want to make a decision that ends up hurting because I didn't listen to the Lord. And trust me, I got this one thing, I got it right. There's been other things that I have gotten horribly wrong by trying to take matters into my own hands.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to do, was just like talk through, because you've mentioned this, in the course of, a 40-minute sermon, you've probably got 5, 6, maybe 7 minutes of your sermon allotted for this type of story. And so I really wanted to like unpack it, because I think that there's a lot that can be taken from this and encouraging to say that, like, hey, whenever, if you haven't heard from the Lord yet, it's okay to keep going until you do. You could see the benefit of the coming out, of a fast like that and hearing, and being super steadfast and just saying, I'm just going to do this until I hear from you.
There's something to it, because I'm just like this month when I go to the Word, it's different.
Yeah,
it's different right now. Like
I will agree with that.
It's just different. Like, this is twice now in the last week that I've ended up with a word to share with the staff here.
Yeah.
That
it's
was
been good.
The direct result of I'm just reading, but because I'm in a during this fast, everything for me is heightened with the Lord. I'm seeing things and hearing things that perhaps when I'm overwhelmed by the things of the world or whatever, I might miss. I might read the Bible, but I might miss these things that are going on. And it does. Whenever you're in a season of prayer and fasting, it's almost like drinking from a fire hydrant with the Lord. How much more you get out of it. It's kind of like, if you take protein or creatine or something in addition to weightlifting, how it boosts the gains or whatnot. So it really is a lot like that. When you're praying and fasting and you need an answer from the Lord, the more of those things that you can stack, and not as some sort of like, okay, God, look at all I'm doing, so now you have to answer. It's just, if your heart's sincere in your pursuit of it, and the spiritual discipline is simply the echo of the true desire of your heart, and not some sort of like, I'm trying to manipulate God.
Yeah.
Listen, you can do that.
Yeah.
You can. Well, I'm going to fast because I want the Lord to give me this job. No.
Yeah.
And it ain't going to work like that.
No, you can't use your spiritual disciplines to manipulate the Lord.
Yeah.
That just doesn't work like that. So if you're sincere in it, then you will hear from the Lord. And I would encourage people. You're getting ready. I know everyone is looking forward to this Saturday, the end of the 31 days. But if you feel in your spirit that whatever it is that you're doing right now, that you're having a lot of success spiritually with it, you may consider
continuing.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Like it's very possible that that's not a bad idea for you to continue on.
Yeah.
And honestly, you'll see a lot of examples. I know a lot of pastors. This has always been something that I've wanted to institute personally, and truthfully have just never had the guts to think that I could be disciplined enough to do it. But like, there's pastors that like their schedule is just set. They fast every week.
Yeah.
Same day, same day every single week, no matter what. And it's like just everyone in their life knows that's my day that I fast.
Yeah.
And so like at the very least, on the other end of this, like, so Aaliyah, remind us, what are you fasting right now?
So right now I'm from 9 to 2 or 10 to 3, just depending on what everything happens then. And then the yelling with the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you see a path forward where once a week you go, this is just what I'm going to do once a week?
Yes, for sure. And then like the implementation of the yelling, like the whole yelling portion, like me changing that's not, the fasting from that for me is to turn into a regular thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to stop this 31 days and go off the handle screaming at everybody. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, this is meant to change me altogether, all around in my everyday life. So I think even implementing the meals once a week, twice a week.
And I think that
you know what I mean?
It's so easy just to say like, I'm going to fast and just cut off a meal and then like work through it. It's also about being intentional during that time as well.
Yes.
Because it's so easy to fall back into a routine of just working or getting stuff done or whatever it is, and not taking that time to spend with the Lord. Yeah. Which is it's crucial in this whole thing. It's paramount.
Yes.
Being diligent and reading your Bible, maybe reading it more than you typically do in a day. Yeah. Putting on some worship music and just singing along and focusing on God's goodness and his love. and taking that time to pray. We can't just say I'm fasting just for this. I'm just cutting out because
Yeah.
The church
you have
did
to
it
be
for 31
intentional.
days.
Yes, 100%.
And the other thing, like I know a lot. I would imagine most of the fasts that we're committed to here at Southridge this month were social media.
Yeah.
Or some sort. Like, listen, if this has changed your pattern of behaviors, please do not just settle back into your old habits on Saturday.
Yeah.
Like if especially if like being like, for me, I have in addition to the window that I don't eat, taking social media off of my phone. I'm not putting it back on Saturday. I'm not saying it's a no forever,
Yeah.
but like I've settled into a rhythm where it's always been a struggle. This is what and I know that there's pastors or people that could just go, well, no, you could just do without it. But because of the things I'm involved in my life, I do have to be on Facebook, right? There's a bunch of church stuff that happens on there. There's a bunch of baseball stuff that happens on there. I just got to be on it. It is a good way to try to keep up with people and all that. But I
Yeah.
don't have to be on it on my phone.
Yeah.
Like if I'm only using it for functional purposes, for church reasons, I like going out there and posting my sermon question, like, hey, give me your answer to that. I like that. If I'm only going to need it for functional purposes, I only need it whenever I have my laptop.
Yeah.
So I will this month, I've only accessed it whenever I've got my laptop. And I don't take my laptop home in the evenings or on the weekends normally. Unless I have some sort of additional meeting or didn't finish something, like my laptop stays here. So I will be on it during those business hours for business purposes. So if the only reason I'm still on social media for the most part, like when it comes to Facebook, the only reason I'm on there is for work and baseball stuff.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't really care about anything else.
Yeah.
Instagram, the only reason I'm on there, you can send me an email, is for sneakers. That's I buy
Send me
all
an
my
email, I'm
sneakers. Yeah, I buy all my sneakers from a guy on Instagram.
Yeah.
But he's getting ready to get a website this year, and there's a good chance that I'll just
Get rid of
outside
Instagram.
of business hours just dip out of Instagram. The one that is killing me, I love X, like so much. I don't like that they made it X. Bring Twitter back, Elon. But
Yeah.
He's
that's
listening.
the one. I know he's a big fan. That's the one that's bothered me so much this month. And if I were to put one back on my phone, it'd probably be that one, just because it's where all my sports and stuff is. Like I like keeping up
It's
with
real time updates.
baseball trades or football trades or all like that's. I like that, but I may not, because it has been so nice, and so I'm not gonna settle back into the rhythm where I have. I don't like to have Facebook and Instagram on my phone. I don't think that I don't need access to that. It pulls me away from. Now, I'm not saying I haven't found other ways to fill my time. I played a lot of Candy Crush this month. A lot of Candy Crush.
Dude, that song is so awesome too.
Yeah.
Whenever you hear it, you're like, oh dang, dude, I'm about to smash some candy.
But like it doesn't damage my soul the way that a lot of social media does.
No.
And so if I'm going to spend time on my phone, I have found that's a much more productive route.
Yeah.
And
if anything, it's keeping you mentally sharp because it's a puzzle game.
super spiritual
So-
people would be like, "Well, don't you just read your Bible?" It's like, listen, that's what I do for a living. Okay, I'm in the Bible. Okay,
Yeah.
you come listen to me teach. If you listen to me teach, you'll be like, "Oh, that guy probably spent some time in the Bible."
Yeah.
Right?
Just a little bit.
But you will drive.
so
If
good.
all you do is listening to podcasts for personal development, and all you do is listen to worship music, and all you do is listen to,
Yeah.
like, if it's all done, just you have to have some mindless things. My mindless stuff has been Candy Crush this month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get on these kicks. I've been Candy Crushing it. I'll tell you that much. I've been getting on a kick lately. But like, if your habits have changed, like my habits have changed in regards to social media. You don't have to go back.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you want to get back on social media. Set some new parameters. Go, you know what? I'm going to get on. I'm going to allow myself from 6 to 8 when I get home from work, and then at 8 o'clock I'm putting it away. I don't need all that in like whatever it is.
Set a time limit on that app.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Yeah, set your
iPhones.
screen limits or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
let
Dude,
it
that
actually
screen
change
time,
you.
that screen time notification. So I put that on at the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
and it gives me a notification at the end of every week how much time each day I've spent on my phone.
Yeah.
And it was insane.
Yep.
Because, I mean, I do a lot of work. I'm texting, you know, I do most of my messaging through Google Chat for the staff and stuff on my phone.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there going, I know I'm not on it doing work stuff like all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, you know, especially whenever I got home. And so.
Well, you can even set
insane.
timers on the apps. Like you're only.
Yeah.
Like
I do that with
for
my
an
kids.
hour with Facebook. Like you can
They're
be on
always
Facebook for an
asking for
hour and
time.
it's done.
My kids
Boom.
are like, you got any more of that YouTube?
Yeah. But like whatever you did, like let it change. Like if you did fast a meal, see if you can incorporate that into your. Like, don't let the next time that you fast be next January when we do this again.
Yeah.
Like, fine. Like, because what I also learned, like, so I would do these long 40-day fasts where I would fast this 10 to 5 window or whatever. But I would also, I have done some 24-hour fasts. Like, when just stuff comes up in life, and I'll just be like, you know what? I am just going to, I'm just going to fast for the next 24 hours and pray about it. And that one is tough.
Yeah.
That one's tough. Like, because I still remember because people don't, even Christians and your family don't always understand this whole fasting thing.
Yeah.
I went to dinner one night with my whole family, my mom and dad and everybody, and they're like, what do you want? I was like, I'll just have black coffee. Oh, come on, we're at Bob Evans, you know, you got to get pancakes or.
Yeah.
I was like, nah. And because you always feel weird because, like, the scriptures talk about, hey, don't like advertise that you're fasting. Don't make a big deal out of it or whatever. So you're trying to like tell people like why you're not eating without going like, oh, how spiritual I am. I'm fasting or whatnot.
Yeah.
So like you're trying to guard against that. But like I'll do that from time to time as well. No, but again, my fasting discipline, though it was so strong early on in my faith journey, has been one of those things that's really waned. And I'm really glad that we did this 31 days because it's really reignited in me. Like, I feel as healthy spiritually as I have felt since before COVID right now because of this.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I don't want to let that go.
Yeah.
And I hope that you guys don't either.
Something that you said that I think is really cool. You didn't place yourself out of the situations during your fast. Like you went to eat with your family.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of the times, like, we're not fasting during this hour, so I'm just not going to go anywhere that be tempted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's really cool and inspiring that you do that. Like, it's a good little tip, like, place yourself in that situation.
Well, I mean, our greatest mission, we all have kids. Our greatest mission field is our families.
Yeah.
It's leading our, for us, it's leading our spouse and our kids, and that's being led by Jake, but also you being an example for your kids as well.
Yeah.
And it is so crucial because the people always say, they always use this line, whenever people get married, they always challenge them, be fruitful and multiply, but if we are Christ followers, it's not just about like just adding more people in the world.
Yeah.
It's about adding more Christ followers into this world.
Yeah.
You're supposed to make people that are like you.
Yes.
That's like, be fruitful and multiply. Whatever does multiply and is fruitful in the created order always produces itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't put an apple seed into the ground and then poof, strawberries.
Yeah.
Right? No.
Dude, that's why you know what's funny? That's why Ryan is so good and my boys are so bad, because I had the boys while I was doing all my riffraff in the world. And then I got saved, and then Ryan comes along and she's just like an angel.
Yeah, we don't always realize it, but we're always reproducing ourselves. So if you have something irritating about your kids or whatever,
it's probably from you.
It's from you.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
100%.
Yeah, we're reproducing.
No, I have good kids. I have good
ourselves.
Kids.
Over and over, but now, like I've been telling my kids on Sundays, like, no, I'm not going to go sit at lunch with y'all. But some of that's because of the fast, and some of that's for other reasons. Like after preaching 2 services, like I'm ready to go home.
Yeah, for sure.
Normally, I like to eat out on Sundays, but it's like if you combine all that, but then there are times that like the other thing that I think I might have mentioned this on the first week. Like the other thing I've grown in back early on in my faith journey, when I would do stuff like this, I was almost Pharisaical. Like,
what does that mean?
I'm talking
like the Pharisees.
I wanted to. If I said 10 to 5, I meant every single second of 10 to 5.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sit there and grit it out. Even if I'm going to dinner and we arrive at 4:50, you're not eating that bread
until 5.
It's like, listen, that's not what the Lord's after either.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's real religious.
It is.
Of a person.
That's how I used to be. That's how
Yeah.
I was. And like I was. That's why the Daniel fast never worked for me, or the lack of a Daniel fast. Sorry, Dave.
TikTok Dave.
I'm like,
what up?
Because I would get so religious, I'd go, so what can I eat? And I would make these elaborate meals that were not a sacrifice at all.
Yeah.
The only thing I was missing was some meat.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nothing. You know, like we go to Cracker Barrel and I get the vegetable platter, which is like 4 side dishes. And as long as it doesn't have meat or butter on it, you can have, it's like that wasn't like, so like I would be so religious.
4 sides of corn, please.
4 corns. All of your corn, please. Like it was.
I don't know if you understood what I said.
Yeah,
I
mean,
said go in the back and give me all of the corn.
It doesn't help to be super religious about this. That's why, like, in the past when I would do this, if I had a work meeting, I would literally not eat. And it would be so awkward for the people I'm meeting with and all that. And it was like, you know what? It's okay to just say, you know what? I'm just going to fast breakfast today. I'm still fasting. I'm still reading the Bible. Yeah. But I've got an engagement that I have to attend to.
Yeah, for sure.
And not make it awkward for other people.
I'm still fasting. I'm still sacrificing. I'm still spending time with the Lord.
Yeah.
But, like, that's what, like, the last 2 days, I've had lunch meetings. So I did my fast from essentially when I wake up, which is like 7 till lunchtime, which is 12, which is almost the same. Yeah. I'm like 2 hours shy. Old me would have been like, oh my gosh, the Lord's so upset with me right now. That's how I like spent most of my life anyways, was thinking that God was upset with me. I'm only now still struggle with that a lot, but when it came to fasting, it was like, gosh, you said that you were going to do this and you couldn't stick to it. Yeah. So the Lord's probably disappointed with you, and it's like, if that's what's happening in your fast, you are missing it.
Yeah, for sure.
You're missing it. Like, it's not right at 4:59, I can't wait to bite into that Oreo. Yeah. It's like, no, there's been a couple times it's been 4:50, and I'm like, I'm good. Yeah. I'm good. Like, I already did my Bible time. Yeah. I'm just going to go ahead. If I'm going to have a snack, I'm going to have a snack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's all about... I think it's all about just what you feel at peace in, because obviously there's still going to be some kind of standard that we're all going to each other hold ourselves to. Yeah. And I think that if you are feeling as spiritually like healthy as you are right now, as if you are feeling more connected to God than you've ever been in your life, and you are still doing the fast, you are still reading the Bible and praying, and you're seeing some amazing things happen. It's just like, I mean, we talked about this in staff meeting. It's like, dude, like if you hit a couple traffic lights on your way to work and you're a couple minutes late, or if you're a couple minutes early, like it's okay. Yeah. Like it's okay.
The posture of your heart when it comes to spiritual disciplines matters so much more than what you're actually doing. Yeah. Right. So if you can only fast and be a Pharisee about it, the Pharisees fasted twice a week. Yeah. They didn't please God. Yeah. They're the ones that killed Jesus. Yeah. So you can be really religious in your spiritual disciplines, but if the posture of your heart's wrong, it's all for nothing. It'll still lead you to kill Jesus. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. So they did. They would fast twice every week for 24-hour periods. Mm-hmm. It didn't make them any more religious. Yeah. Like fasting is very like that. I think that's why I feel so much better during this fast, because I've not gone through this like mental game of going, well, you let the Lord down today because you had a lunch meeting. Yeah. Yeah. Because I haven't had to go through that. It's like, no, I'm still fasting. I'm still getting positive results from my fast, and I'm thoroughly enjoying this, which is why I may carry on farther past February 1st, because it's like if you can do it and not be in some like religious mindset that robs you of the joy of what you're doing, it's a really powerful discipline. It's just like, if you're going to read your Bible, but the only reason you're going to read your Bible is because you have to,
Yeah.
you ain't going to get nothing out of it.
Yeah,
you're going to be more
exactly.
angry,
Yeah.
and your eyes are just going to go through the motions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all been there.
I've tried to have to read the
for sure.
Bible. I do it all the time, actually, and I read it, and I get halfway through, and I'm like, well, now I'm going to have to start over.
I know.
Yes.
My mind is
that happens
wandering.
to me too.
It's like the posture of your heart will always matter so much more than the discipline itself. Because
Yeah.
if your heart is in it, then you will get something out of it, and you don't have to sit there and try to beat yourself over the head about, oh, well, I wanted to read my Bible 7 days this week, but I failed. How much did you read it? 5? You don't think that the Lord's so pleased with you that you read the Bible 5 times this week?
Yeah.
And all you want to focus on is the 2 days? I'm
Yeah,
only
look at
giving that
where
example.
were you at a year ago?
Yeah, where were you
Yeah.
at a year ago? And plus, I mean, this is what I've struggled with for so long in my life, is that I've never felt that whatever I did was ever enough,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and that instead of going, I've read my Bible and prayed 4 times this week, I would focus on, well, there's 3 days that you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And even that, the way that you say that, I didn't do anything, if you went back and audited that day, you wouldn't even agree with that statement. You'd
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
you didn't do anything. You didn't listen to worship music on your way to work. You didn't pray while you were at work. You didn't, like, have a faith conversation with somebody, or, like, you didn't listen to like, what we consider nothing is normally not actually even nothing.
Yeah.
The enemy wants to tear you down and make you go, see, you're not doing enough. You
Yeah.
said you
Yeah.
were going to fast. You failed. If that's what ends up happening, you won't end up getting the most out of it. Just like, it is best to look at God as a father in the process of spiritual disciplines,
Yeah.
and not as like some angry despot that, like, you never met his standard ever
Yeah.
in your
Mhm.
life, and he's always disappointed in you, and this fast is just another way that you've disappointed him.
Yeah.
That's not the case.
No.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
This is a good one, right?
Yeah, let's mystery meet it and get out of here.
Yep. Time to meet it up. Put my hand in the meat.
All right. What we got over there?
All right, mystery meat question. If your car had to make a sound every time you turn on the engine, what sound would it make?
All right.
Besides its normal functioning sound.
All right. Or whatever.
All right.
Go to the last episode of this and listen to Aaliyah, how she finishes the episode.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Hooray.
All
That's,
right.
that's the sound I'm choosing for today. I'm sure I'd be sick of it after one day.
Yeah.
I didn't even listen to you say that question. Say it again. Sorry.
It's all right. If you here, I'll read it again.
I had a ring doorbell notification.
If your car had to make a sound every time you turn on the engine, what sound would it make? I know what it would be. And it would never get old, and it would just be funny to me every single time. It would be Aziz Ansari's okay, let's go.
What? Where did this question come from?
Chat GPT.
All right, I hate this question.
Oh, stop.
I don't have an answer for this.
Like, you turn it on, and it had
Yeah,
and it
I would
just-
go with John Christ. Let's go.
I have no idea. Maybe like do 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 do.
All right.
Something cute. Like do 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 do.
What if it made like your?
I don't want it to talk
What
to
if it
me.
made
That
like
would
your
freak me
your like laundry, like your clothes washer? That sound it makes whenever it's like
Unbalanced.
finished.
Oh,
Oh.
when it's done, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant unbalanced is like
No, not that like clanking sound. Like mine goes do 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 do.
oh, you got a newer one, don't you?
It's not that new.
New enough. Mine don't make no noise. It goes. That's it.
Mine doesn't get used enough to make the noise. It's going to tonight. It's
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to tonight.
Oh, dude, our clothes have piled up because we've had water issues since I don't know 10 days ago.
I've been going nonstop for like 2 weeks on evening stuff and weekend stuff that I just can barely keep my head above the laundry pile. So tonight's the night that I feel it. Feeling energized
Well, that's good.
as soon
Good
as I
for
get
you.
something to eat.
And that's our cue to go.
In 2.5 hours.
Yeah. All right.
All right. I'm never gonna live that down.
Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and you can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.